Hello and welcome to YakWaxLips, the podcast. I'm your host Michael, your point-and-click adventurer, and we're here to talk all things adventure games, like your classics from Monkey Island and Broken Sword, through to modern gems like Unavowed and Whispers of the Machine. We're here for news, reviews and interviews with developers and fans alike. So get yourself comfortable and grab a grog right here on YakWaxLips, the podcast. Hello everyone, Michael here from YakWaxLips. I hope you're having a lovely day so far. A belated Happy New Year to you all. It is January the 14th today, I think it is. And on today's podcast, I'm going to be talking to Francisco González, who is, of course, Grundislav Games, the creator of Lamplight City, a Golden Wake and Shardlight, and of course the Ben Jordan series. But mostly we're going to be talking about his upcoming game, Rosewater. Before we head into the interview though, if you haven't heard of YakWaxLips before, it is basically me, and all I do is create adventure game content from really old school stuff like Monkey Island through to new stuff like Rosewater. So if that sounds like your bag, please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it really helps share the channel out to other people and gets more content out to you guys. So thanks very much for all of that. Also, before we go on to the interview, just a little update on what's going on in the adventure game world at the minute and what I've been up to. So the last podcast was October, and I thought I'd give myself a bit of a break from the podcasting thing. It was fun, it was enjoyable, but life takes over at some point. Hopefully 2021 will be the year where the podcast will be on a regular, like a regular day, maybe weekly, maybe fortnightly, haven't decided yet. But that will be coming up, you'll see in the next few weeks and months. Also, I'm also going to be trying to change Trailer Talk. If you don't know what Trailer Talk is, it's my weekly, in inverted commas, show where I show 3 upcoming adventure game trailers and talk about those. I'm going to try and amalgamate, is that the right word? I'm basically going to mush it together with a kind of new idea that I've got, which is kind of just a general adventure game news show, which I don't really see there being one. So at the minute, I'm going to get some trailers together, I'm going to get some news together, and hopefully have a weekly show. So again, keep an eye out for that. I'm not sure when it's going to come, but I am working on it. And finally, the games I've been playing. So since October, I've mainly been playing still the Hand of Glory. If you don't know what the Hand of Glory is, I'm doing a Let's Play. It's on the channel somewhere. And Beyond the Steel Sky, still not finished that. But recently, the past 3 or 4 days, I have been delving into Lamplight City to basically research, because I never got around to playing it. So I was kindly donated a copy by Francisco. Thank you very much. And it is bloody brilliant. If you haven't played it, go and play it. I do say that quite a lot in the interview, but yeah, I'm really enjoying that. And I have a few games coming up that I'm going to review, which is 9 Witches and also the Button Witch, which will be on the channel very soon. So there you go, that's my news here. I hope that sounds good to you. I'm quite excited by where YakWaxLips is going. If that all sounds good, again, big like on the video, really appreciate it. Right, now I'm going to start waffling. One final thing before we get into the interview is, right at the end of the video, I will be revealing some news which was announced yesterday evening, and it's very exciting. I might have tweeted about it already, so if you're on Twitter, you'll see it there. But if not, very exciting. So stick around to the end to hear that reveal. Anyway, let's go into this interview with the wonderful Francisco González. Hello everyone, welcome to YakWaxLips, the podcast. My guest today is the creator of modern classics, I'm going to say, Shardlight and Lamplight City, amongst others. And of course, you can't forget the Ben Jordan series. I am talking to, of course, Francisco González. How are you, Francisco?
I am well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
That's more than welcome. It's a resurgence in the podcast. It's the first episode of the second go at it, so nice, hopefully it's the first of many. And thank you for coming on, because one of the, I don't want to say big hitters, because that sounds a bit like, I don't know, a bit silly, but you all, people say Francisco González, you know the type of game, you know the games you're going to get. Anyway, that's me waxing lyrical about nonsense. How are you?
I'm well. I that's very kind of you to say. I appreciate it. I still, I'm a guy in his base. I'm literally in in a basement now making games. Like, I didn't always live in a basement. Well, I don't live in the basement. I wasn't always in the basement, but I've always just been, making games at my home computer. Oh, and now my heater's off. Great. So now we have quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do appreciate the support and everything from from the fans. But yeah, I'm good. I mean, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, it's strange for game developers now, because the world is in the UK here. It's coming up to pretty much a year in March of Corona.
Same, yeah.
It's affected me massively, in good ways and bad ways. You know, I've been able to put so much more time into this, the YakWaxLips stuff I do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, for a game developer, pretty much it's kind of a solitude way of life anyway. If you're a solo developer, has it changed much for you?
Parts of it have, parts of it haven't. I mean, I was very lucky in that I was working from home anyway. So as far as like, you know, being in lockdown and not really going out very much, that didn't change the work. I definitely think that if I hadn't moved in with my girlfriend as I did last year to have this home office basement thing, if I was still in my like studio apartment where I was literally like 2 steps away from my bed was my computer, and I would just go there, I think I probably would have not done as well, because the fact that I have a room that's my work room and I can leave it at the end of the day and say, okay, I'm done for the day, and not have it like staring at me.
Yeah,
that's really important. But yeah, as far as the routine, it hasn't changed. A lot of people asked me like, oh, or said like, you must have so much more time to work on your game now, and I'm just like, no, it's not that I have more time. It's just that I don't go out anymore. I'm not working weekends, or at least trying not to work weekends. I mean, on the positive side, like as much as I've missed going to conferences and stuff, I've been able to save a lot of money on not traveling this year, so that's at least a perk for the future. And I mean, I kind of feel bad about it, but at the same time, like for a while there, you know, people were stuck at home. They didn't have much to do, so they went out and bought games. So there was, you know, we had a couple of good months there for a while. I kind of felt like I was profiteering off of the pandemic, which wasn't great, but whatever. I mean, you know, I thought of it like, you know, the games are there. If people are enjoying them, I'm happy to have made something that people can pass the time with, like, you know, whatever. So, but yeah, overall, it's been okay. I mean,
okay, now in that time, I've mainly got you on here to talk about Rosewater, which is the game that you're working on right now and have been for a good couple of years. So, I mean, I'm playing Lamplight City at the minute, which I absolutely love.
Thank you.
And it is involved in the Lamplight City world. So is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? Is it a different part of the world? I mean, I did play the demo already. I thought it was fantastic. But just tell us a bit more about what Rosewater is.
Yeah, so Rosewater is not a direct sequel. Timeline-wise, it takes place 6 years after the events of Lamplight City. Lamplight City takes place in 1844. Rosewater takes place in 1850. But it does take place in the same world, and you play as Harley Legere, who is the sister of Bill from Lamplight City, who is the dead partner. So there's that connection there, but it's not a direct sequel. There's no real plot lines that are continued on. Like, you don't have to have played Lamplight City to enjoy Rosewater. I mean, I'm still like, I'm talking about the same things in the background that were established in Lamplight City, but I'm also doing it or trying to do it in a way where it's like, if you haven't played it, you're not going to be completely lost. Like, you'll get the important bits relevant to the story, whether you played Lamplight City or not. You'll get more of the references if you played Lamplight City. But yeah, so it's not really a direct sequel. It's more of like a side quill. It's kind of like I guess like GTA Vice City was to GTA 3.
All right.
In that sort of way. Like,
that's going to be on the promotional posters, I think.
No. I'll get sued by Rockstar.
True. So Rosewater, it's a Western. I mean,
it is.
Was that always, whilst you were doing Lamplight City, was there always a seed in your mind thinking, you know, there could be a spin-off, or there could be other stories? Or, I mean, or did it was when Lamplight City was released? Was it then that you thought, right, what should I do next, or what was the kind of gestation period of what Rosewater is?
It kind of happened. I couldn't tell you exactly when, but it definitely happened during the development of Lamplight City, because what I did first was establish the world. Like I came up with the whole, well, it's the continent of Vespuccia. I came up with the whole alternate history for this setting. Um, and in writing about like what had led to the situation, where the history points diverged and everything, coming up with the city of New Britannia. I had this world, and I thought, well, if I have this, that I could expand upon this. It would be interesting to explore other parts of it, because Lamplight City is basically like the alternate take on 19th century Victorian London detective fiction.
Yeah.
So what's something else in that time period? The Old West. So I was like, well, a Western would be interesting. And then I got to thinking about how there's really no dramatic or serious non-comedy Western point and clicks, because I mean, the most well-known one is obviously Freddy Farkas, probably.
Yeah.
And then you had like Alamo and the Lost Dutchman's Mine, that was an indie one that came out in the mid 2000s, and I think there was the Fedimore Fillmore series, like Three Skulls of the Toltecs. I never played those, but there's really not that many Western point and clicks, and the ones that are mostly comedies. Like LucasArts did Outlaws, but that was a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
So it seemed like an untapped niche that I wanted to explore. And like, I'm not really a fan of Westerns. I wouldn't call myself like, I don't dislike Westerns.
Yeah.
But I never really, like when I was a kid, I always thought that, stuff like the spaghetti Westerns were boring, because in my mind, it was just like all these long, boring shots where nothing happened, and like people stood there for 10 minutes just staring at each other before anything happened, right? But
Yeah.
But as I've seen some Westerns and stuff, I realized I actually do like. There's a lot of it I like. Like I love the scenery. I mean, I've had the fortune to be able to travel out to the American West, and like I love the desert scenery. I love just like the wide open spaces. I love the diversity of the environments, and just like the themes of going out to a new frontier and like discovering yourself, or like getting away from things. Like it lends itself well to be able to tell interesting stories, and so I thought, why not? And so I did definitely come up with it early on, because there are references and hints to it in the prologue of Lamplight City. So
Yeah.
it was definitely some point in the process. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, the thing that I feel sets Lamplight City apart, and what I've heard of Rosewater, is basically the different options and the different paths. And from first-hand experience, if you ask the wrong question to someone in Lamplight City, you can't then go back and ask a different one, because in real life you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't be, accuse someone of something, and then the next time you go and see them say, actually, can you help me with this? Because it doesn't work. How much of that are you bringing to Rosewater? Is it kind of the same kind of mechanic?
Not quite. Yeah, so the main thing that I experimented with in Lamplight City was the idea that in most adventure games, your NPCs have amnesia. Like,
Yeah.
if you insult them and you come back, it's just like, oh, let me talk to you again. Like I never, you never insulted me. So since it was a detective game, I wanted the consequences to be felt. Like if you ask or say the wrong thing, a witness will shut up and not want, not be cooperative anymore, and then you have to either find another solution or declare the case unsolvable or what have you.
Yeah.
But with Rosewater, and also like, that would lock you out of a particular path. And the issue with that is it sounds good on paper, but when you tell the player that you've locked them out of something, there's a lot more potential and good reason for them to feel frustrated, because they think, oh, well, the game is punishing me for having picked the wrong dialogue option, which wasn't my intent, but I can see how it could come across that way. With Rosewater, I wanted to approach the design a little bit differently because it's not a detective game, so you don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing. But I do want to open up the possibility to approach things in a different way, because like the main character is, her background is that, you know, she grew up rough and she was a bare knuckle boxer, but now she's trying to make her, like, she's trying to reinvent herself as a writer. So she comes from this violent past, and she maybe has not such a sparkling, clean past. So she can draw from that, but she also wants to like walk the straight and narrow path. So if you saw in the demo, like one of the ways to get into the theater, you can either, you know, do the errand and the puzzles for the kid guarding the theater, or you can just knock him out.
Yeah.
So I thought that was important as like an exploration, both as an exploration of her character, as a sort of little opportunity to role play based on like, you know, if you want to like stick to her past or try and help her reform or whatever, but also so that it wouldn't come out of nowhere. So, because, you know, a lot of times you have adventure game protagonists that do just horrible, immoral things, and it's like you're supposed to believe that they're otherwise a very nice person.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have a character with a spotty past, like, it's believable that they would knock someone out if they got angry enough. But with respect to different paths, there are different paths because the main focus I want to go with is the relationship with the companion characters that you go on this journey with in the second part of the game. And it's not so much that content gets locked out, it's just that you see it differently. You get to it different ways. Like, again, using the example of the theater thing in the demo, like the ultimate goal is to get in and see the Wild West show.
Yeah.
And you can either do the puzzles to get in, or you can knock the kid out to get in. You always will see the Wild West show. You see that bit. Afterwards, depending on what you did, if you knocked him out, you get taken to jail, and you meet a character who you wouldn't have necessarily met if you had done it the other way.
Yeah.
And if you did it the other way, you get the bar brawl scene, which you don't get if you knock out kid. So you get two different things, but they ultimately end in the same way. It's just you see a slightly different scene. So it's not like you don't get to see it at all. You just get about there a different way. So that's what I was trying to do.
I think that's really important. I think you look at a point and click game now, even the classics, which are fantastic stories, but you know, you play them once and you know the story. But already now, having asked some wrong questions in Lamplight City, want to go back and replay it once I have. And again, with the demo with Rosewater, I did slog the guy. Like, I love adventure games, and I would have done the puzzles, but it was the demo was like quite lengthy. It's about an hour. I spent about an hour on it, and there's 50 million demos at these festivals. So I thought, let's get to the end. But once I'd finished it, I did want to go back and choose a different path to basically experience different routes. For a developer, I mean, where is your mind at? Like, what have you got diagrams of all these different paths that are going all over the place? It's like, surely it's just like post-it notes all over the place. And
I did for Lamplight City. I actually have my design notebook right here for Rosewater. I don't think I actually went that. I didn't do any graph or any charts or anything like that. But I mean, I do definitely take copious notes and write everything down. These are my character biographies and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as designing this stuff, yeah, you kind of have to think about all the different possibilities. I mean, I tried not to go insane and overscope it, because I am, in the end, just a solo developer, and I want to get this thing out in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I was thinking more towards the design of Fate of Atlantis, where it branches apart and then comes back to the same thing at the end. I kind of am doing the branching towards the end rather than in the middle. But yeah, it's kind of just the reuse of, like, the thing I thought was cool about Fate of Atlantis was that depending on which path you choose, you ultimately go to all the same locations, but what happens there changes. So like you know, if you choose the team path, you meet one character in Algiers who's very friendly and helpful to you, and he like, you know, there's a whole puzzle with like trading items at his shop or whatever. But if you do the wits path, that same character, you have to like follow a guy to his house, and he's really hostile towards you, and you have to like trap him or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like a clever reuse of assets, because it's not like, oh well, if you chose this path, you meet this completely different character or whatever. So that was kind of like how I was thinking to keep it a little bit more grounded.
On a side note, which is your favorite path in Fate of Atlantis? Mine is team path, because Sophia Hapgood is just great.
I love the team path, but I also have a soft spot for wits path because I love the car chase.
Oh yeah.
I just like the car chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
I love the seance scene.
Yeah, that's classic. Which is the one with the balloon where you go into the air. Because I mean, that was like a pain in the ass.
That's team.
Yeah. It's been a while since I played it.
Yeah, same.
Anyway, yes, go off on a tangent there. One thing which Lamplight City didn't have was an inventory. Correct. But from the demo in Rosewater, you do.
Yes.
What was you thinking there?
To bring it back or to get rid of it, or both?
Yeah, I mean, did you decide? You know, is it easier to design a game with an inventory, and also when you have something, let's say you have a rope, you can then try it on 50 different things.
Right.
But I've read that you have a unique way of something. You use it on something and maybe it disappears after you've used it so many times. And basically, I'm signed up to your email list, and I love the weekly emails that you send through, explaining your development. And for those listening, I highly recommend signing up to the email list, because it's basically tells you a week by week analysis of how the game's going. So yeah, I mean, why bring it back as such?
Right. Well, I mean, the reason I took it out in Lamplight City was because I felt that a detective game where the focus was on investigating crimes and getting information out of people, inventory puzzles like combining objects to do stuff would have felt out of place. So that's why I got rid of it in Lamplight City. I brought it back for Rosewater because, I felt like if it's a quote unquote traditional adventure game, it should have some inventory puzzles. There's not many item combination puzzles. I've never really been a fan of those. I've always thought it's a bit, I don't know, far-fetched to like there's certain things you can combine that make sense, but anyway. But yeah, so what I did was, what I decided to do was, it's not really unique. I think The Longest Journey did something a bit similar, and that is that, for example, if there's a screen where you have multiple hotspots, and like the inventory items highlight when you move them over something that can be used, but they'll only highlight over hotspots where an inventory item needs to be used, right? So like say you have a screen where it's like, a bunch of hotspots, but none of them are required to have an inventory item used for them for a puzzle. If you select an inventory item, you hover it over, it won't highlight over any of the hotspots. It will over the characters, because I've decided crazily to have a unique response for showing items to characters for every item. But
that's a lot of work.
it sounds like a lot more work than it is, but it's really not that many. You don't have that many inventory items at any particular given time, so it's not that big a deal.
Okay.
But the main reason I wanted to do that was because the biggest frustration I have as a designer is writing messages for why you can't do things. Yeah. And I don't think that you should be, if you're playing an adventure game to have fun, you shouldn't spend 95% of the time being told, I can't do that. I don't think that's going to work. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. Like, I think you shouldn't necessarily have, you should get messages for trying things that, and, get something unique. So like, again, if you have a hotspot that does use an inventory item, and you click on the wrong thing, I'll write a custom response for that too.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to avoid as much as possible just the generic "that doesn't work" thing, because it's annoying.
Now, you going back to to Rosewater and being a Western, where do you get your influence from? Because you said you're not really into Western. Is it the places that you've visited and also the characters that you've got? Because Again, I'm going back to Lamplight City, but they all feel, even the ones that are only on screen for like a couple of minutes, they all feel like they've really got a story about them. Do you really go into the character like really deep, or is it just kind of sketched out? I mean, looking at your notes just then, you can kind of see what the answer's going to be.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I feel like one of the things that I've struggled with, and one of the places that I've tried to grow and hopefully have grown, is in characterization. Because I feel like in a lot of my early games, certainly in the Ben Jordan games, and even with like a Golden Wake and Shardlight, like I always enjoyed having characters, but I always kind of went to the whole like caricature thing, you know, like I sort of noticed that I've had these trends, like I love old ladies with shotguns for some reason. There's several games where I've had old ladies with shotguns. But yeah, so obviously with Rosewater, as I said, the focus is on the companion characters. So the ones that you spend the most time with are the 5 main companion characters, as well as, you know, yourself.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that definitely have the arcs and the biggest like attention to detail and the stories and everything. But when it comes to like the NPCs, yeah, I mean, you know, you can draw on archetypes like the town sheriff, the town doctor, like what do you expect from that? And then you can think about, well, what do you expect from that? Like, what do you not expect from that? What is something that I can make this character say? Like, it's really easy to rely on stuff like verbal tics. Like in Lamplight City, I don't know how far you've gotten, but if you've in case 2, there's the medium, and I decided that her thing would be that she says "darling" like all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's a little more to her than that. Like if you ask her about herself, like you learn about her stuff, her thing. But to set her apart, like, you know, she says "darling," and you know, like the doctor in Rosewater, you know, in writing him, I was like, okay, well, what's his thing? Well, he's the town doctor. He doesn't have a lot to do. He feels like he is the most important person in the lives of the town, and he's a pious man. So there's some stuff that can affect his speech pattern. So, you know, little things like that can otherwise turn just a, you know, a character that's only in the game for a couple of minutes into something hopefully memorable. And also a lot of that has to do with the voice acting. So that's why I always look forward to the voice acting, because when you hear the characters brought to life, that is like night and day, and it's great.
Yeah, the voice acting in Lamplight City is fantastic. I can't remember, was there voice acting in the Rosewater demo? I don't remember.
No, not yet.
No.
Not yet. I have not written much of the game beyond what's in the demo, so I did not want to. I wanted to wait until it's all written. I want to wait until it's all written before we record voices. And I thought it would be a waste to like go through the whole casting process and record just for the demo. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I was tempted to like do all the voices myself. No, that's not true. But I don't think that would. No, it would have been terrible.
Well, we want to hear that. We want to hear like a director's cut version of Rosewater with you doing all.
Really do not. Trust me.
Now you are a solo developer. What is your favorite part of creating the game? Because you do a weekly Twitch stream of you kind of basically just making the game, but you've obviously got the writing, the research, the art. I mean, what's your favorite part of doing it all?
It's hard to say, because, and also to clarify, like I say I'm a solo dev, and yeah, I would say like I'm 75% solo dev, because obviously I work with a composer, and on this project, my girlfriend / partner is also, she was the dialogue editor on Lamplight City. She's taking a bit more of an active role in writing certain parts of Rosewater.
Yeah.
I've outsourced those bits to her. So I'm not doing it. It's not like I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
But I count myself fortunate to kind of switch between disciplines at any given time. So like if I've been coding something for a long time and I'm tired of coding, I can take a break and do some art. If I've done too many backgrounds and I'm sick of doing backgrounds, I can do a character animation or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would say that I enjoy all the disciplines. I have certain bits of each that I like and certain bits that I don't like. Like in the design process, I love having the freedom of being able to come up with whatever. But then after a while, it's like, oh, I have to rein this in and actually put something on paper, you know. And with my streams, I generally stick to doing art because I feel like I wouldn't want to stream myself writing because it would just be me sitting there typing and being like, and then this guy says this, and that's terrible. Sometimes I'll do coding, but I also don't really like doing that because I'm just like terrified that everyone's going to see how bad my coding is and how many mistakes I make. But I guess as far, if I had to pick one, I would say animation is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I guess recording the voices is also part of my favorite. Not so much the editing, but the recording is fun.
Yeah. Now, what I can say about your art style is the wallpapers. You kind of mentioned the backgrounds, but the wallpapers are intricate. I mean, why put yourself through it? I mean, it looks fantastic.
But do you know what is so funny? And please do not interpret this as me complaining. It's just it's so funny to me. Because I draw these backgrounds and the wallpapers are always textures. I don't do my own. I don't draw that wall. Yeah, I just get a photo texture of Victorian wallpaper and blend it into the background. That's the most intricate part of the background is literally what takes me the least amount of time to do. And that's what everybody comments on. They're like, "Oh, I love the texture on the wallpaper. I love the texture on the floor." I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't draw it. Thanks."
Oh, it looks great. It looks great.
Now, well, it's funny you say that because like I that was a little trick I learned from Ben Chandler actually, as far as using photo textures, and I feel like it's easier to get away with at lower resolutions. So the fact that it seems to blend in well where you can't tell, that's good. That means that I've learned how to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a developer like in the slightest. I've never developed anything at all, so I don't know at all. But from a gameplayer's point of view, it looks amazing. So yes, keep doing it. Kind of sticking on the subject of just the genre in itself. I kind of feel like the past, let's say 5 years, there's kind of I feel like there's been more of a resurgence. There's obviously been games before that, but I don't know. Maybe the past 5 years, the genre seems to be taken a bit more seriously, perhaps, or maybe there's more people delving into the genre. I mean, what's your take on it? Do you agree with that?
You mean the adventure genre?
Yeah, the adventure game, and particularly pixel point and click games.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've never subscribed to the idea of adventure games are dead because they never have been. There's always been an interest in them, and I mean, I did some research. I was on a panel at PAX East last year, like literally where we all found out GDC had been canceled. That was like the last big event before
I think I saw that. I think they streamed it or tried to stream
it.
I saw that one.
Yeah. And I did some research for that where I noted that, you know, more adventure games have been released in just the past like 5 years than ever were during the so-called golden age of adventure games. So I mean, it's still strong and there's still lots of people doing it and it's great. The only unfortunate side effect of that is that there's so many now that it's really hard to get any attention. So you know, but I mean, you know, I am glad that lots of people are doing it and that so many people are enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're one that does it right. Not just like game wise and the way the game is, but just the way that you approach it. Like you wanted to come on this podcast. I put a thing out, expecting loads of people, not loads of people, but expecting, you know, a few people to come on, and straight away within 5 minutes, you're like, I'll do it.
I mean, I just want people to play my game. Okay. Yeah. I just want people to buy my game and I want people to play my game.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I do for a living. I need to eat.
You need to eat. So, you know, yeah.
But I appreciate you putting out the call, and I appreciate you.
No, that's time. That's great. I just love playing the games myself. Now, in terms of Rosewater, like I said, I'm signed up to the mail list, so I'm in the know. But you are tentatively saying it's released in 2021, back end of 2021.
Yes.
How far along the development process are you? How much more is there to do?
So yeah, I said 2021 and 2019 when I was young and optimistic. But I still feel like I can hit that goal. Maybe not. I mean, I had originally figured April, May, but that's definitely not going to happen.
Yeah.
Probably looking more like October, November. But my number one priority, which was to get the game in a fully playable state from start to finish, obviously with placeholders and no dialogue.
Yeah.
I actually managed to do that like literally on the last day of 2020. So there are some bits that are still missing that I need to put in, but like they're designed and it's just a matter of building them.
Yeah.
But as far as like you load up the game, you start it and you can get through to the ending, that's done. So really the next thing that I'm doing that I'm focusing on is writing the script. And once that's done, then I just have to finish doing the art and animations and then record the voices and then hopefully it'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
The composer has been working on the music all this time and I've been getting bits of music as well. So yeah, I mean it should be doable. We'll see. We'll see where it is. But the important thing is that like now that it's playable, it's like, okay, I have something. I feel like I accomplished. The game is there. Like it just needs to be filled in and polished.
Yeah. So, awesome. Yeah. So hopefully in the next 12 months, we'll see it. We'll see it hit Steam. And is it going to be on GOG at all? GOG?
It will be on GOG as well. Yes.
Awesome. Excellent.
There's already a GOG page.
Oh, fabulous! I'll put all the links in the description of this chat that we're having right now. Cool. Just a couple more questions before I leave you to get going and work hard on this game because I want it out. You obviously have a lot of time putting all this work and effort into your game. What games do you play that aren't yours, like currently, that have been out recently? Is there any, or is it just like game, finish, kind of busman's holiday? I don't want to play.
I've been playing a lot of Hitman 2.
Oh, yeah.
I just recently started playing Assassin's Creed Unity because that was like the one major Assassin's Creed release that I skipped when it came out, and it was on sale for cheap during the winter sales, so I picked it up and I've been playing that. I'm going to tell you a dirty little secret. I don't play many adventure games anymore. I don't. It's not because I don't enjoy them. It's just because I can't get into them anymore. It's really sad. It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think what the last major like indie adventure game I played was. I'm so bad, and it's. I saw a tweet about this that made me laugh because I don't think it's just adventure games. I think it's indie developers in general. It's like being an indie developer means promoting the hell out of your friends' games but never actually playing them. And I think there's a lot of truth to that because like there's some great indie adventure games out there, and I think you should play them. But I have not played them because I'm a terrible friend. But yeah, like after working on one all day, the last thing I really want to do is sit down and play one.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're bad. It's not because I'm going to be like, oh, I could do so much better. It's just, I don't know. I've always enjoyed being a console gamer for like third-person action adventure games. That's been my thing, right? So. Yeah, like the last PC game I played was Disco Elysium, and I loved that. And that was like as close to an adventure game as I've gotten recently.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Now, before I leave you, I can't not talk about the Ben Jordan series, which was. I mean, it's 2021 now. I remember jumping onto the AGS. Forum. Oh wow!
Yep, I got a little Rosewater one too.
Yeah,
a little
oh, that's awesome. Who did those for you? Or did you do them yourself?
It's a website called HeroForge.com that you can design the characters in like a little 3D modeler thing, and then they 3D print them for you.
That's awesome.
But I painted them. It was very interesting to paint them. I have 2 more waiting upstairs that I haven't gotten around to.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. I've lost my train of thought now. I'm just thinking.
Sorry. Yeah,
I want a little Ben Jordan. Yeah. Well, like I said, I was on the AGS forum early 2000s time. So it's 20 odd years now. I mean, looking back on that, how do you feel about those games? Was there 8 in all? 7?
Yeah, there's 8 and with 2
games.
remakes. So
Yeah.
technically 10, but 8
Yeah.
all told, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, have you replayed, revisited them at any point in the past 10 years, maybe?
Yeah, there was a while there where I was doing live streams where I was playing through the series, and I think I made it up to about case 6, and then I stopped for some reason because I had to recompile them because they wouldn't run on my computer. I had to like recompile the source in like a current version of AGS.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately my hard drive crashed 2 years ago. It was when I was still working on Lamplight City. It was like I got back from GDC and my computer wouldn't turn on. It wasn't that my hard drive crashed. It was that my computer died.
Yeah.
So I had to run out and get a new computer, and I was able to put the hard drive from that computer into my new one. So I had 2, but that old computer already had my previous hard drive on it, which also happened to have all of the source code of Ben Jordan on it as well. So I was not able to salvage that. So unfortunately, I've lost all of the source code for the Ben Jordan games.
Got it.
I still have all of the assets, but I would have to rebuild the games from scratch.
Yeah.
So I feel bad when everyone's like, "Oh, you should put them on Steam. You should put them on Steam." I'm like, I have the executables probably, but I don't really have the sources, so I couldn't guarantee that they would run on modern machines. But yeah, I replayed the first 6 games recently, and I mean they're okay. Like it's hard to look back on them and not be overly critical, but like I think probably what I'm most proud of is the fact that I set out to make 8 games and I did it.
Yeah.
I think
that's a real achievement. 8 games is I mean 1 is an achievement, but to put out 8 and maybe
I mean they vary in quality and they vary in length, but you know, the fact that the community was so supportive and like people were always excited about a new Ben Jordan game, and like it was really cool. Like I loved that was a thing, and I loved working on them. Like I look back on, you know, working on like case 3 was one of the most fun times I had. Like not ever, but like you know, I look back fondly on making all of them. Like I don't, with the exception of maybe case 5 where I kind of got like burned out and a little tired of working on it.
Yeah.
I just look back on working on the Ben Jordan series fondly, and like yeah, like the fact that I think it was a big learning experience, and it really was the stepping stone for me to be able to do this full time, because it taught me how to budget my time and how to be responsible and not go overboard with what I wanted to do, and like get like, I mean, of course the last one took me 4 years, but it was because I was working a full a day job 9 to 5, and there were times where I wouldn't touch AGS for like 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that like I said, the most important lesson was the discipline of being able to carry a project over the finish line, and
yeah.
So
awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not ashamed of the Ben Jordan series by any means. I'm not like these are the best games ever, but they're nice. They're a nice little reminder of my early youth.
Yeah. There were. I remember being on the AGS community around about the same time, and it was, I want to say, a buzz. There was a buzz about it when a new Ben Jordan dropped.
Can I ask you what your forum name was?
You know what? It was 20 years ago. I don't even remember. Okay. If I find it, I'll DM you. I'll probably find my old login or something if it still works. But I remember getting there around about 2004-5 maybe. I don't remember, but yes, it was a while ago.
I made the first 3 in 2004.
Yeah, so, yeah, it was around about then. Right, I think we've pretty much chatted your ear off.
No, it's been great.
Where can people find out more about Grundislav Games? I mean, where did that come from? Grundislav Games.
Grundislav, according to my 11th grade history teacher, was the ancient Germanic form of González. It turns out it's actually Gundislav, but Grundislav sounds better. So everyone called me Grundislav in high school, and I adopted it as my online name. And so I decided, hey, if I'm going to make games, I might as well set up a name. So I decided, Grundislav Games, why not? So
yeah.
I apologize to everyone who misses the little jingle at the beginning of the Ben Jordan games, because people sometimes are like, "Oh, you should bring back the little GRUND thing."
I expect to see it in Rosewater.
Maybe no. I actually, I'm sorry to derail this again, but like one of the things I love putting a little personal stamp on games by like taking a game's logo and making it look like, appropriate to the theme of the game. So like with Lamplight City, there was like the little static, like I made it look like steampunky with a gear and stuff. And I was trying to figure out what an interesting way to do it for Rosewater was. And then I was like, I'll do a brand, literally a brand. So it starts off with the and the thing. So I was very tempted to add a cow going, but that would, I feel like that would immediately ruin the tone. So I didn't.
Yeah.
But as far as where people can find me, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Grundislav Games. It's GRUNDISLAV Games, all one word. I am at twitch.tv/Grundislav, where I do the weekly Wild West Wednesday stream, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. I stream other times too, but that's definitely the set one every week. And yeah, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, I believe it's tinyletter.com/Grundislav.
I'll put all the links.
About it. Yeah, I tweet about it fairly often.
Yeah.
I think that's everything, right? That's
awesome. So thank you very much for coming on this podcast, and everyone listening, watching, go and wishlist Rosewater on Steam, because I do believe that helps a lot.
You can also wishlist it on GOG as far as
and GOG as well, yes.
Yeah.
GOG, GOG, whatever you want to call it. And yes, thank you so much, and I will leave you to go and carry on making that Western of yours. So thank you very much, Francisco.
Thank you, Michael.
So there you go. That was my interview with Francisco. I really enjoyed talking to the chap. Very lovely guy. We talked a bit before and after. And I'm excited by Rosewater. I also really want one of those Ben Jordan characters. They look amazing. So anyway, to the news that I alluded to at the start of the video, stroke podcast if you're watching, listening. Lucasfilm games are back. Yes, and by that I mean that they have kind of reinvigorated their brand of Lucasfilm games and brought back the old school logo, adjusted just a slightly bit. And they are going to be doing a new Indiana Jones game. So that sounds very exciting. They are working with Bethesda, I think that's how you pronounced it, who did the Fallout games and the Skyrim game, which I both really like, Skyrim and Fallout, big games of mine. I do enjoy those. Not sure if Indiana Jones is going to go down that route. Don't expect a pixel point and click game like Fate of Atlantis. I doubt it very much. But there, big news. Lucasfilm games are on the block again. I think they'll mostly be going to be doing Star Wars games, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe they might bring back all the other ones that you can't really get anymore, except for on Steam. They might do big boxes. They might do. I mean, let the speculation begin. What would you like to see from a Lucasfilm game if they come back? Is it Monkey Island merch? Is it the big boxes? Is it? I mean, they're owned by Disney now, so maybe let's bring Day of the Tentacle to a theme park in Disneyland. I mean, the world is your oyster. That'd be awesome. Let me know your comments down below about what you would like to hear and see from the new Lucasfilm games. Anyway, that's it for this week. I will be coming back soonish. We're speaking to a new guest, so make sure that you hit subscribe and the like. And until next time, take care.